Hey, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show. This is your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. I'm coming to you on a Saturday morning and recording because I want to share some of the breaking news that we watched last night, and even some that is breaking this morning. So I want to lay out my Jackson 5, but also for those of you that may have missed it, and I replayed it on Prager's show, but I want to replay it for you and dissect it. And that is Trump's speech to the World Economic Forum. Guys, I think this is one of the most important speeches of our lifetimes. Besides Trump's inaugural address, it's amazing. But I think that this speech, the speech to the World Economic Forum, is going to be the most important speech of Trump's presidency. And the reason why I say that, it's simply because all of the policies that these left-wing radicals have been implementing in the United States of America, a lot of that stuff, Davos, if you will, the World Economic Forum, has become the quasi think tank, if you will, for the radical left right here inside of the United States of America. These elitists in Davos, right? That want this Agenda 2030 to take place. You know, you will own nothing and be happy. That's literally what they say. But Trump gave this speech, and hopefully I don't forget this line, but Trump gave this speech to the World Economic Forum, and essentially what he said was that, you know, you will to them, speaking to the World Economic Forum, and obviously this is my opinion of it, but Trump, he gave them the double barrel middle finger. He said, you will control nothing, speaking to the World Economic Forum, and you will take it. Now, he didn't say those words literally, but when you check out the speech, when you listen to the speech, that's essentially what he's saying. Everything that we see happening, even Trump visited North Carolina. We got a couple clips from that. Trump visited the hurricane victims of North Carolina. It's been 4 months or so. They've not received the help that Los Angeles is, or the attention that Los Angeles is already getting. You guys have heard my podcast. I hope if you fix California, you fix the nation. And essentially what I meant by that is if you get rid of the left-wing radical policies that California implements, and then you make those where Democrats don't want to touch those, even Democrats don't want to touch those radical policies with a 10-foot pole. Essentially, you fix the entire nation because Democrats will be scared to run on radical left-wing policies. And that's what California is. I want to show you guys some pictures. By the way, again, thank you for joining us. Please subscribe to the podcast. We are on YouTube, so please subscribe to the podcast and rate, review, share it. We would certainly appreciate that on YouTube.com. Also, I've been forgetting to share, guys, for a long time. In honor of getting rid of DEI, you can check out my t-shirt, Carl Jackson merch.itemorder.com, carljacksonmerch.itemorder.com. Skin ain't sin. Also my all right, so the link is on the description. Also my t-shirt, don't grow weary doing good, but I think skin ain't sin is so timely, considering that DEI is being busted up all over the place. Thank God. All right. So man looks at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. That's basically the motivation behind this T-shirt. And Trump is busting that up in all types of ways. I mean, we had a passport where people were allowed to get a passport and they didn't have to claim their real sex. They could claim they were X or whatever. They've gotten rid of that. People traveling through the State Department or traveling on behalf of the State Department in foreign countries representing the United States of America, where they were going and showing other countries how to set up LGBTQ and all this kind of stuff curriculum. Marco Rubio and Trump have already gotten rid of that. They're eliminating federal funding to schools that push DEI from K through 12 all the way up to college. I mean, they are trying to eliminate this stuff, and they're getting rid of the fat that's inside of these state departments. A lot of these people are trying to hide out these DEI warriors by switching their titles. They're trying to hide out in the federal bureaucracy, and Trump isn't waiting for that. He's kicking them out as well. So it's been it has been so good. what I've seen transpire with this Trump administration, and we're just 1 week in. Obviously, there was a setback this week when it comes to the birthright citizenship. You had what I'm assuming is a lefty. I know he was appointed by Reagan. Guys, that means nothing. The guy is in Seattle, in Washington, Seattle. So there was a setback when it comes to birthright citizenship, but Trump has got that conversation going. He's rounding up illegals. I've seen photos, I'm sure you have too, of illegals that are being, loaded up into these major military cargo type planes. I forget what they're called, C-10s or something like that. They're shipping back the criminals. We've seen the raids take place in Boston and in other places around the country. So this time Trump, and he seems much more at ease. And I think it's in part because he knows, and Gabe and I were talking about this before we came on air here, but for one, he knows he has a short period of time to get stuff done. And also because he had such a landslide victory in the Electoral College and the popular vote, I think Trump feels even more confident, if you can believe it, and comfortable that, hey, man, I can just be myself. I'm a deal maker. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. I want to do the common sense thing. I want to do the right thing that are going to make American lives better. Why, this guy is a billionaire. He's not getting paid. He didn't accept a paycheck. He never mentions that, and people never mention that. But I think that's really important. He has not accepted a paycheck. But there's been great news. Pete Hegseth has been confirmed after a 50-50 tie in the Senate. So you had Mitch McConnell, I was going to say something, but I won't, voted against him. Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins of Maine. And Susan Collins, a lot of people are saying, Susan Collins, I understand in Maine. I don't. You have a populist agenda. I really do believe that Republicans need to get rid of this mindset. Listen, go and tell people about the policies that are hurting you in your state, in your districts, and maybe people will listen. Frankly, that's what Trump did in his last campaign here in places like the Bronx and in places like California when he went out there to visit. And that's the reason why he won the popular vote, because more people in blue states came out and voted for him. And on top of winning the swing states. But Lisa Murkowski voted against him. She needs to go. The only reason she's a senator is because at the last minute, Alaska changed their voting system to ranked choice voting so that she could win. They did it intentionally for her, and she was part of that. Otherwise, she cheated, in other words, to become a senator again. She would have lost. Otherwise. All right, so Lisa Murkowski, I hope she gets another primary challenge. I'm just so sick. Lady votes like a Democrat, but her father was in politics forever. She wants to be in politics forever because these people can do nothing else. But nonetheless, regardless of that, it was Vice President now, J.D. Vance, that cast the deciding vote. And so now we've got Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. So thank God for that. And then there was other news that broke even late last night. Guys, I had fallen asleep because I was looking at this. I'm looking on X here because there was Trump had gotten rid of more bureaucrats within the deep state. Just fired them. Supposedly, they're supposed to. I think it was the inspectors generals. That's what it was. It was the inspectors generals of all these bureaucracies, and apparently they're supposed to have 30 days notice before Trump can counsel them. No, you don't. You know what? Do it now. Get rid of all of these people that are useless inside of the federal government and ask permission later. I'd rather Republicans act swiftly, right? And then apologize later if need be. You got to hire people back. Okay, we're gonna bring you back. It's gonna be back under these conditions. We can't have these deep state actors that nobody elected, that nobody knows, no one knows their names, and they're sitting in these bureaucracies running the country when we didn't elect them. We can't have that stuff anymore. All right, so I basically listen. I want you guys to understand that Trump gave the middle finger both to California, and he gave the middle finger to Davos or California liberals. And this is very important because, again, if you fix California, I really do believe you fix the nation. And I appreciate what Trump did. So we're going to go through some clips real quick here, and then we're going to just dissect this Davos speech and we'll leave it there. If there's any breaking news, I know this is a podcast, but I'm a new, you know what I'm saying? I'm a radio guy first, right? And so I've had to adapt to the podcast environment. So I'm a little late to the party, if you will. But if there's something that'll still be relevant for today, I'll share that with you because that's just how I roll. But before I get to our videos, let me just share this real quick. This show is brought to you by mypillow.com. And here's what I've been saying. Gabe, Trump has used the double barrel middle finger so much this week, whether it's against Davos and the World Economic Forum, whether it's against the World Health Organization. He needs some My Pillows, in my opinion, for his middle fingers because they have to be tired. They have to be getting heavy. So I believe that Mike Lindell needs to create, wouldn't you agree, Gabe? Mike Lindell has to create some like tiny My Pillows for Trump's middle fingers because he's been given the double barrels all of these leftists this week. But anyway, for years, customers have been asking if My Pillow sells cross necklaces like the one Mike Lindell proudly wears every day. Well, they're excited to announce that Mike has partnered with the jeweler right here in the USA to create beautiful sterling silver My crosses. So right now you can save 30% today. All you have to do is use the promo code Carl, C-A-R-L, at mypillow.com and click on the radio podcast square or call 800-858-0263 and be sure to use promo code Carl, C-A-R-L. You can choose from the women's or men's style. All right. The My Cross for women has a more delicate look at and is reversible with mother of pearl style translucent white enamel on one side and onyx style black enamel on the other. The My Cross for men has a slightly larger cross with onyx-style black enamel and a slightly longer, thicker chain. So this amazing offer won't last long. Order now, mypillow.com. Click on the radio podcast square or call 800-858-0263. Again, that number, 800-858-0263. 800-858-0263. Use the promo code Carl. All right. Now, let's take a look at these videos. What clip do I want to? I actually want to play Gavin Newsom first here. Trump has landed kisses and has greeted him. Okay, Gavin Newsom showed up on the tarmac, has greeted him. Okay, I'm not sure if this is the same video. I intended on two videos. Oh, okay, let's do this. Two of them are the same, Gabe, but let's go to cut 5 first, just real quickly. I think this is important. We all know that Gavin Newsom wants to try to get a photo op and pretend like he's in charge. All right, and pretend like he knows what he's doing. This guy is literally just a guy that plays the part. He has a social media team, that a cameraman, basically, but basically, essentially, that follows him around and photos everything in order to get clips and videos. Basically, at least in my opinion, for clicks. But the guy can't govern. He just looks the part. He talks the part. Tries to get in front of the camera. Looks like he's typecasted right out of Hollywood to play some president, an actor in Hollywood. But he's actually the guy is playing governor in California. But here's what Trump did. So Trump landed in L.A. This was after he visited North Carolina. I'm going to take you back there in a sec. And here's what he did with Gavin Newsom. He made him wait. And I think that was cool. Cut number 5, please, Gabe. All right, so All right, so you saw a good point, Gabe. You saw Trump. They were having that arm wrestling match, but Trump essentially won that thing. But this is very important because all Gavin Newsom is looking for is a photo op. He's on defense. There are recall efforts, recall signatures at least being signed. Recall efforts, that is correct, for both he and Karen Bass. These guys are trying to save their political career. Where is Karen Bass going to go after the being mayor of Los Angeles? It's so hard to say that word. All right, it's being mayor of Los Angeles. Where is she going to go? Absolutely nowhere. Maybe she goes back to Congress, assuming someone would be dumb enough to send her back to Washington D.C. But I don't. Karen Bass is not going to be mayor of Los Angeles after this stint. She's been absolutely horrible. She's not even allowing people. She has. I didn't realize this, and we'll play this shortly, but she has executive powers in Los Angeles that are so powerful. She can basically up in all of the regulations from Newsom's office and all of these left wing liberals. The problem is she's a radical leftist herself. This is a lady that would fly to Cuba because she loved Fidel Castro, a communist. But now, with all of these policies that are playing out and going up in smoke right in her face, she looks like a complete and a buffoon. And so many people voted for her, and it's true, based upon DEI. She's a black woman. That's what they do in Los Angeles. They want a virtue signal. And now they've paid the price for virtue signaling in LA because she is a complete and utter disaster. California hasn't had a good mayor, and I don't know how long. The last mayor that seemed to be decent was Mayor Tom Bradley, and people didn't reelect him. All right. And I'm not even sure. I was a kid, but he was seemingly popular at the time. So anyway, so that was one. And then you have this clip real quick. This is just a follow on cut number 4, Gabe. This is Trump, basically just an extension of the clip you just saw. Let's run cut number 4. But Trump lets people know who's in charge. Let's roll it, please. Okay, let's see if it goes to the... Maybe we can fast forward this part a little bit. If not, maybe it's fine. It's the same one? No, he's... let's see. Oh, okay. It's this... Okay, well, let's go to... Anyway, okay, so basically they get in front of the camera and then Gavin Newsom thanks him for being there, thanks him for coming to Los Angeles, thanks him for coming to the state, and then, basically says, hey, you were there for us for COVID, and, I'm expecting that you'll be here for us with this disaster. And it's like, you could see the grimace on Trump's face, like, you freaking idiot. But Trump was calm, cool, and collective. And he went ahead and he made the tour. He didn't invite Gavin Newsom along. That's why he didn't invite him along on the helicopter ride. He wasn't going to allow Gavin Newsom to get the photo ops. He wanted to talk to the people, and he went to talk to the residents. He went to talk to the elected officials that represent, that particular area in California, and other congressmen that are Republican. Also in farmland community in California were there. Congressman Darrell Issa was there. Rick Grinnell, formerly DNI head of the DNI at one point in time, and now an ambassador. I believe he's an ambassador to Germany. I cannot remember. But Rick Grinnell did such a great job during Trump's first administration. He was there in the meeting too. But here's Trump shaking the hands of the firefighters, and one of the firefighters tells him, "Thank you for saving America." Cut number 2, please, Gabe. Cut number 2. All right. So that was President Trump. It's hard to hear, but one of them said, "Thank you for saving America." Guys, there are conservatives, there are Republicans, and in California. They're just outnumbered. But I really do believe that if Trump can fix California, and I mean this with all sincerity, he fixes the nation. Because I think there's a lot of people that hate Trump in California. They've been fed these news, all this negative news that is bombarding them about Trump. And I guarantee you, a lot of these people are like, oh my goodness, he's all right. He's not so bad after all. They try to dehumanize him. They try to make him look evil. And where, like, for me, I'm a policy guy. I don't want to, I don't want to hear what you have to say. Show me what you're going to do when it comes to policy, and then don't take away any of my freedoms while you're doing it. That's the type of person that I am. So here's his confrontation real quick with Karen Bass. And they seem to be having a good roundtable discussion. But it was so clear. And I heard someone else say this, so I don't want to take credit for it, but it was the perfect analogy. Trump was sitting there during that entire session, that roundtable session, and essentially he was tutoring Karen Bass. This is what a real leader looks like. This is how it should be. This is how you answer, not just answer the questions, but you get stuff done. And ultimately, maybe it was halfway through that roundtable because people were Karen Bass was trying to sound official and like she was on top of things because she's fighting to save her job. All right, that's what she's fighting for. This lady, knowing that the Santa Ana winds were coming, that there were serious threats of fires. She had been warned. She had known for days. She decided to travel to Ghana anyway to celebrate some president being his inauguration in Ghana. Like, give me a freaking break. You abandoned LA. And now you want to try to come here and pretend like you know what needs to be done. And I want you to listen to the exchange because they really treat people like children. Let's go ahead and roll that. That is clip number. I'm sorry. Clip number. Where's the one with Karen Bass? It's got to be right in my face. Sorry, people. Is it one? Okay, let's see. Cut one. Oh, yeah, sorry.
You have emergency powers just like I do, and I'm exercising my emergency powers. You have to exercise them also.
I did exercise them.
Because you have a very powerful emergency power, and
yes.
You can do everything within 24 hours.
Yes. And if individuals want to clear out their property, they can. Well, yes, but you know that you will be able to go back soon.
Mr. President.
We think within a week.
Carter.
That's a long time, a week. I'll be honest. To me, everyone's standing in front of their house. They want to go to work, and they're not allowed to do it.
And the most important thing is for people to be safe.
They're safe. They're safe. You know what? They're not safe. They're not safe now. They're going to be much safer. A week is actually a long time, the way I look at it. I watched hundreds of people standing in front of their lots, and they're not allowed to go in. It's all burned. It's gone. It's done. Nothing's going to happen to it. It's not going to burn anymore. There's nothing to burn. There's almost nothing to burn. And they want to go in. The people are all over the place. They're standing, and they say, why aren't you going in? We're trying to get a permit. And the permit's going to take them, everybody said 18 months. You said 18 months. You said 18 months.
That was last night.
And that was last night. On that.
We can't even see our homes right now. We are blocked from entering our streets.
Right.
We can't even. This is our first time we saw our house. It was yesterday.
Mr. President, we're going to be together next week, and during the interim, many of us are involved in, and Tom McClintock, who you know has been an expert on this for years.
That's right.
We are going to be putting conditions on the money that do two things: require that it be done timely and affordable, and then secondly, that we protect those who will come afterwards. As we speak, there are 6,000 acres burning in my district on the Mexican border. There will be more fires until we include in any disaster relief items which will prevent it or at least mitigate it from happening again. So you're going to see us proposing both of those.
Like water. Little things like water. You know, the party of common sense. See, we're the party of common sense. You're not, in all fairness.
Yes, sir.
We like water to put out fires. It's really quite efficient. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, now the reason why that's important, that guy Brad, this was a guy that during I didn't have time to pull the clips, but this was a guy that praised FEMA. I mean, you got people that have not seen a FEMA agent, and get again now, guys. Let me make this emphatically clear. We should not be relying on a government agency. Trump wants to. This is part of the news from last night. Trump wants to basically end in FEMA as it exists, and I think he should. You don't need a national level FEMA because you get some person in that is completely incompetent and they're slowing down progress in states. In North Carolina, their whack governor, I think it's Roy Cooper, their whack governor should have been on top of things in North Carolina. The guy is nowhere to be found. He should be held accountable for that. What they should do is that the governors should do, they should have a team. They've got their own storm people or natural disaster type people. Stop lying to people that these disasters are caused by man-made climate change when we've had these type of storms going back hundreds of years. California has had wildfires going back hundreds and hundreds of years because it's desert terrain, a lot of it. But now, as humans come and humans adapt, you can use sprinkler systems, you can use water, you know what I'm saying? But this guy Burns, that congressman, just praising big government. No, shut down FEMA. Gavin Newsom should be responsible. Karen Bass, or should be held accountable. Karen Bass should be held accountable. And then when the people in their states see that they aren't doing the job because they can scapegoat their own horrible records, their own horrible governance by saying, FEMA, we need you. Notice how they do that. Hey, Uncle Sam. Hey, and then they tell their voters it's Uncle Sam's fault. We've been asking FEMA for aid. Well, what can you do, fool? One of the things that you may have missed in that particular clip. All right, so one of the dudes snatched away Karen Bass's mic, but I want you to understand before that point, it had been pretty civil. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, and it remains civil. That's about as hot as it got. With the exception of Trump and that other guy Burns going at it because, it's obvious he was a big time liberal. He even tried to compare when Trump said, you got insurance companies that are leaving, telling you why. And then the guy is like, oh, well, they're leaving Florida too. Fool, Florida has hurricanes like nobody's business. There's no way we can control hurricanes coming from the sky. What you guys, it's apples and oranges. What you guys can control, you can do control burns. You can rake dead leaves. You can clear your forest. You guys are doing none of that. Your governor is lying. And you said that's that person, that guy Burns, you guys need to fire him in California. He's the reason why your state is hurting. One of the reasons. Liberals like that don't have a clue, always have an answer. And then he tried to talk about like the building process and all this. Trump is a freaking real estate developer, you moron. The same is true with Karen Bass. And what she got caught on, Trump said, listen, because you guys understand, unless there's an emergency declared, Trump can't just step in. He's thinking of overriding these leaders in the state of California if they don't do what they should do to protect their citizens. Karen Bass is, all right, when he confronted her on having, powers where she could get rid of all of the red tape so builders could start building, the homeowners can clean up and clear their grounds. She said, I've done that. And then people in the audience that actually lived in Pacific Palisades that lost their homes were like, no, you haven't. We can't, And then she said, basically, one of them must have screamed out, when are you going to do it? And she says, well, within a week. So she went from, in that quick clip, going from saying, admitting she had the powers to remove all red tape within 24 hours. And then she says, oh, well, but I want you to be safe. This is the nanny state. You're not my mother, fool. I hired you to be a mayor. You don't have a clue of what you're doing. It's not safe. Trump goes back at her. It's not safe now. And he's absolutely right. Guys, when we have hurricanes here in the state of Florida, we don't wait for FEMA. We don't wait for the mayor. Even the liberal mayors out here, they know the deal. You've got branches all over the place. You got leaves all over the place. They're gonna become a nuisance. They're gonna become dangerous. God forbid, because it's happened before. Another storm or hurricane blows through in Florida. Those limbs can become projectiles that can hurt someone or damage property in some way, shape, or form. So immediately after the storm is over, immediately after the storms are over, you can go outside and neighbor are going to be helping. They're going to be clearing up the brush. They're going to be piling it up, using chainsaws, sweeping, blowing, raking, doing whatever they have to do to get that debris on the curb, get that debris moved out. The city comes in, they collect it like regular trash. Sometimes it's too much, so they got to come little by little. If there's major branches, tree limbs, so on, etc., trunks that have fallen, they have a separate crew or separate crews that come out with these big trucks with claws and stuff like that. But they don't come out. They don't say, wait until it's safe. And no, you better get to work, because if you don't clear up your property, it's not going to get cleared up. And that's freedom. That's freedom. Oh, it's too safe. You're not my mother. I mean, this is, all of these people are nannies. They think you're so dumb that you should follow their regulations. Meanwhile, they don't know what the hell they're doing. It drives me nuts. This is what I hate about the left. They sound good. They look good in front of the camera. But when it comes to governance, they don't know what they're doing. All right, let's get through this, Gabe. Let's go ahead and roll this video. This is Trump's World Economic Forum speech. I want you guys to hear this, because, and I'll send you a title here, Gabe, because Trump gave, I'm telling you, the reason why you have California leftists like this that don't have a clue. Actually, we got to play the clip of North Carolina. Let's roll that one. I forgot all about that. These are the people in North Carolina. I'm sorry. Now I forgot about North Carolina. The people in North Carolina have been abandoned. Reverend Franklin Graham hands over the mic to President Trump. These people have been totally abandoned. And I told you the story earlier. I think I did, or maybe I was talking to Gabe. One woman was talking about since September 27th, since the storm hit. I mean, they've had roads washed away. You guys saw homes washed away. They've been relying on FEMA because their governor is completely useless. All right. And then FEMA can't go in quickly. They've got to get past their own red tape. So unless you have a president, and you have Biden, right, that was a dementia patient, and then Jill, who was clueless, you have Biden's inner circle that were obviously incompetent and lying to the people. And then you probably have 25-year-old staffers that were running the country. They don't have a clue. So what is FEMA going to do? Because Biden, all he did was rely on FEMA to do something. If you put somebody in FEMA that's incompetent and not driven and doesn't really understand different regions, storms, so on, etc., they're useless. That's why it should be abolished. You should make it a state issue. And then the federal government just gives state leaders money. That's the way that it should work. All right, let's, where is it at? Where's the North Carolina? All right, cut 3. Por favor, let's roll this real quick.
So, Mr. President, thank you for what you have done for Western North Carolina. Thank you for coming again to see. Thank you, your son Don Jr., he came with us twice. And so they've taken a real interest. And this isn't a politician coming down here looking for votes. This is a man who wants to do something, who wants to see some changes, who wants to make life better for you. So thank you. And Melania, thank you so much for coming. It's an honor to have you here with us. So, Mr. President, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, good man. He's done a great job, fantastic job. And we've come to North Carolina with a simple message for all the people of this region who are hit so hard by Hurricane Helene. And that message is very simple. You are not forgotten any longer. You were treated very badly by the previous administration. And I'm here after a few days of the administration. We're going to California, Los Angeles. They got hit hard, as you know. A lot of that could have been prevented, I think, if they had water, which they had plenty of, but they didn't use it. said, I'm going there, but and it was set up to go there. They said, well, wait a minute, what about North Carolina? They said, well, what would you? I said, I have to stop there first. I'm stopping in North Carolina. So we made the stop, and I feel very good. You're represented by some great people, great.
All right, so and there was a longer clip. I probably should have pulled that clip because honestly, it was just great to hear him there because people know that stuff is going to get done. He's going to bring in the necessary resources to get things done. He's going to challenge people locally to get things done, and that's where it needs to start. I mean, FEMA literally told a woman that lost. Or her neighbors lost their homes and probably some their lives. If you saw those ravaging waters, those raging waters, that just wiped away homes and so on, etc. There's no telling where many people. There's probably going to be hundreds of people that they're going to find later. I mean, just dead somewhere. But they told this one woman, FEMA did, hey. They lost a bridge that connected them or that allowed emergency services to be able to come into their small community or for them to travel out of their community. They lost a bridge. FEMA said, rebuild the bridge, rebuild the road, find some contractors, and then we'll reimburse you. The lady is poor. She estimated that rebuilding their little bridge will cost about $300,000, just the bridge. I mean, these people are idiots. That's why a governor has to be held accountable so that they can't scapegoat. So they can't escape. Accountability. All right. So good idea from Trump. Take it back to the states. And again, we do have Pete Hegseth is now the Secretary of Defense. So good news for that. Okay, let's do this. Let's go right into the World Economic Forum speech here, Gabe, and then we'll just break it up in minutes. I just want you to hear it. These are Trump's own words, and I want you to understand the only reason that you're able to fix what has happened in North Carolina, what has happened in Los Angeles, is because Trump has taken on the World Economic Forum, and a lot of these Democrats, the liberal ones and the radical left, they have taken on the ideas of the World Economic Forum. Trump gave the World Economic Forum the double barrel middle finger. I mean, he laid it down. He did it in a smooth and calm way, but he laid it down. And again, their slogan has been, "You will own nothing," speaking to us. Meaning that these elites, these global elites in Davos, Switzerland, are going to dictate to the United States, to all these other nations, what should be done. Now, China wasn't listening to them. India isn't listening to them. But we got stupid liberals in the United States of America that are listening to these morons that have no military might, that are just evil people, got a lot of money, they're bored, and they want to control people. F you. Excuse my language. This stuff just gets me. I don't cuss, but this stuff just gets me so mad. It's insane. You got these evil people that are plotting to control your life, like that guy on Austin Powers. I mean, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. And Trump, in my opinion, their slogan is, "You will own nothing and be happy." And Trump's slogan to them, in my opinion, this is what he was saying, although he didn't say it. I'm saying it on his behalf. "You will control nothing and you will take it." And they realize, there's a clip I didn't pull, but one of the guys that helps run the World Economic Forum, he was like, well, afterwards, his comment was, this means that Trump won and we lost. They admitted it. All right, let's roll the speech, por favor.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Well, thank you very much, Klaus, and hello to everyone in beautiful Davos. This has been a truly historic week in the United States. 3 days ago, I took the oath of office, and we began the golden age of America. The recent presidential election was won by millions of votes, and all seven, every one of them, all seven swing states. It was a massive mandate from the American people like hasn't been seen in many years. And some of the political pundits, even some of my so-called enemies, said it was the most consequential election victory in 129 years. That's quite nice. What the world has witnessed in the past 72 hours is nothing less than a revolution of common sense. Our country will soon be stronger, wealthier, and more united than ever before, and the entire planet will be more peaceful and prosperous as a result of this incredible momentum and what we're doing and going to do. My administration is acting with unprecedented speed to fix the disasters we've inherited from a totally inept group of people and to solve every single crisis facing our country. This begins with confronting the economic chaos caused by the failed policies of the last administration. Over the past 4 years, our government racked up $8 trillion in wasteful deficit spending and inflicted nation-wrecking energy restrictions, crippling regulations, and hidden taxes like never before. The result is the worst inflation crisis in modern history and sky-high interest rates for our citizens and even throughout the world. Food prices and the price of almost every other thing known to mankind went through the roof. President Biden totally lost control of what was going on in our country, but in particular with our high inflation economy and at our border. Because of these ruinous policies, total government spending this year is $1.5 trillion higher than was projected to occur when I left office just 4 years ago. Likewise, the cost of servicing the debt is more than 230% higher than was projected in 2020. The inflation rate we are inheriting remains 50% higher than the historic target. It was the highest inflation probably in the history of our country. That's why from the moment I took office, I've taken rapid action to reverse each and every one of these radical left policies that created this calamity, in particular with immigration, crime, and inflation. On day one, I signed an executive order directing every member of my cabinet to marshal all powers at their disposal to defeat inflation and reduce the cost of daily life. I imposed a federal hiring freeze, a federal regulation freeze, a foreign aid freeze, and I created the new Department of Government Efficiency. I terminated the ridiculous and incredibly wasteful Green New Deal. I call it the Green New Scam.
Hold it right there. Hold it right there. Hold it right there, Gabe. All right. Hold it right there. So he ended the Green New Scam. All right. Also, he talked about the Department of Government, efficiency. These are all of these lofty ideas have been, John Kerry promotes these, John Kerry promotes these ideas. All of these ideas, these left-wing ideas come from Davos. These rich elites in the United States of America go hang around with the rich elites in Davos, and they're like, we're so much smarter and more important than the rest of the people around the world. Why don't we dictate what should happen? Because we know best. I mean, these people are just complete and utter morons. They think that they're gods. So Trump says all of these ideas, open borders, that's a Davos idea, right? They're globalists. They don't believe in nation states. So Trump's victory is a major loss to the people in Davos because he's a nationalist. Borders, language, culture, and frankly, everyone should be nationalists. I mean, you're going to get rid of your culture for what? Some rich European elites? Are you freaking kidding me? Let me just read this stat. Victor Davis Hanson had a great column at the Daily Signal. Elite Europeans losing influence resent Trump. Now, let me just give you some stats real quick. So Trump has disbanded the World Health Organization, or he's stopped sending money to the World Health Organization because much of that money, I mean, these people are corrupt. China basically controls the World Health Organization, or their influence, or what they, simply because all you have to do is look back at COVID. I mean, they hid the truth from the rest of the world for the sake of China. America pays way more money into the World Health Organization than China does. And then the World Health Organization doesn't tell us the truth. And they believe in this World Economic Forum crap. That's over. Look, you know what the EU did? The EU has adopted basically UN Agenda 2030. I think it used to be called Agenda 2021 or something like that. But it's all this green new stuff they would fearmonger in order to take control, make voters scared like they have in California largely, make voters scared, and then voters in return for being afraid would give them more power. But here's what happened to the EU, and then we'll continue with the video. So the EU adopted all of this nonsense, all of this stupid stuff that these elites believe in when they haven't run crap except maybe, their own stock portfolios. But the EU adopted all this nonsense. You know what happens? 25 years ago, the EU was created, and its gross domestic product, Victor Davis Hanson writes, was about the same as the United States. We were basically almost on level par. Dollar for whatever they call, I forget what they call their currency. All right, so dollar for dollar, we were basically on level par. And then it started to implement these Davos-like issues and laws and policies, VDH writes, and now it has almost a little more than half the GDP of the United States and only about 60% of per capita income. So they have become the EU, those nation states in Europe, when they weren't the EU and they were actually nation states in Europe, again, used to be on par with the United States fiscally, or as far as the gross domestic product is concerned. Now their value is about 50% less because they've adopted these stupid policies. They've made their citizens poor, more reliant on them, and they live fat on the hog while their citizens suffer. Let's return to the speech, please, Kate.
Paris Climate Accord and ended the insane and costly electric vehicle mandate. We're going to let people buy the car they want to buy. I declared a national energy emergency, and it's so important, national energy emergency to unlock the liquid gold under our feet and pave the way for rapid approvals of new energy infrastructure. The United States has the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we're going to use it. Not only will this reduce the cost of virtually all goods and services, it'll make the United States a manufacturing superpower and the world capital of artificial intelligence and crypto. My administration has also begun the largest deregulation campaign in history, far exceeding even the record-setting efforts of my last term. In total, the Biden administration imposed $50,000 in additional regulatory costs on the average American household over the last 4 years.
Man,
I have promised to eliminate 10 old regulations for every new regulation, which will soon put many thousands of dollars back in the pockets of American families. To further unleash our economy, our majorities in the House and Senate, which we also took along with the presidency, are going to pass the largest tax cut in American history, including massive tax cuts for workers and family, and big tax cuts for domestic producers and manufacturers. And we're working with the Democrats on getting an extension of the original Trump tax cuts, as you probably know, by just reading any paper. My message to every business in the world is very simple. Come make your product in America, and we will give you among the lowest taxes of any nation on earth. We're bringing them down very substantially, even from the original Trump tax cuts. But if you don't make your product in America, which is your prerogative, then very simply you will have to pay a tariff, differing amounts, but a tariff which will direct hundreds of billions of dollars and even trillions of dollars into our treasury to strengthen our economy and pay down debt. Under the Trump administration, there will be no better place on earth to create jobs, build factories, or grow a company than right here in the good old USA. Already Americans' you can see this, I think, maybe even in your wonderful, wonderful room that you're all gathered together, so many of my friends, but Americans, the economic confidence is soaring like we haven't seen in many, many decades. Maybe
Pause it right there. Pause it right there real quick. Okay, so just real quickly, this is a double barrel middle finger to the WEF. What Trump is telling them, you guys tried to weaken America, and you had a dementia patient and a willing staff in the White House that was willing to bring America down to size. I'm telling you that America is going to be strong again. I'm giving you the double barrel middle finger, and I'm putting you on notice that all of these nations that support your ideas of globalization, I'm gonna put a tariff on them, so they're going to get rid of you too, right? They're not going to adopt your policies too. Klaus Schwab, you're 86. You're going to be dead soon. Your legacy is going to be, I helped destroy countries, and then they finally realized how dumb they were for listening to me, this man that thought I was smarter than God. And now your legacy is going to be, you know what? No, and I'm glad you know this before you croak. We're demolishing your legacy right here, right now, right in front of your face. Nation states are going to be strong. The United States is going to be strong. We're not going to bow down to the World Economic Forum. All of these regulations, 10 regulations cut for every one regulation. That was putting Americans, you were paying $50,000 basically in taxes that you didn't know about due to regulations from the Democrat Party. We're going to make products here in the United States of America. And by the way, you companies that buy into this Davos crap, now you're going to pay tariffs if you don't bow down to the United States. You made your money here. You got successful here. And then you want to turn your back on the United States? Double barrel middle finger, baby. Love it. Let's keep rolling.
Well, upon my election, it was just announced that small business optimism skyrocketed by 41 points in a single month. That's the highest ever. There's never been anything like that. SoftBank has announced between a $100 and $200 billion investment in the U.S. economy because of the election result. And just 2 days ago, Oracle, SoftBank, and OpenAI announced a $500 billion investment in AI infrastructure. Other companies likewise have announced billions and billions and billions, adding up to trillions of investment in America, in the United States. And it's also reported today in the papers that Saudi Arabia will be investing at least $600 billion in America. But I'll be asking the Crown Prince, who's a fantastic guy, to round it out to around $1 trillion. I think they'll do that because we've been very good to them. And I'm also going to ask Saudi Arabia and OPEC to bring down the cost of oil. You got to bring it down, which, frankly, I'm surprised they didn't do before the election. That didn't show a lot of love by them not doing it. I was a little surprised by that. If the price came down, the Russia-Ukraine war would end immediately. Right now, the price is high enough that that war will continue. You got to bring down the oil price. You got to end that war. They should have done it long ago. They're very responsible, actually, to a certain extent, for what's taking place. Millions of lives are being lost. With oil prices going down, I'll demand that interest rates drop immediately, and likewise, they should be dropping all over the world. Interest rates should follow us all over. The progress that you're seeing is happening because of our historic victory in a recent presidential election, one that has become quite well known throughout the world. I think a lot of things are happening to a lot of countries. They say that there's light shining all over the world since the election, and even countries that we aren't particularly friendly with are happy because they understand what there is a future and how great the future will be. Under our leadership, America is back and open for business. And this week, I'm also taking swift action to stop the invasion at our southern border. They allowed people to come in at levels that nobody's ever seen before. It was ridiculous. I decided and declared to do, and very, very importantly, a national emergency on our border. Immediately halted all entry of illegal border crossers, of which there were many, and began promptly returning the illegal trespassers back to the place from which they came. That action, as you've probably seen, has already started very strongly.
Hold it right there real quick. Hold it right there real quick, please, Gabe.
National Guard troops to the border to assist in repelling.
Okay, so real quick, again, Trump, by returning these illegals, all right, we're not going to be a globalist nation. We're not taking all these people in that don't assimilate to the United States. We're going to force other nations to take their citizens back, and they're going to have to assume he's forcing them to be nation states and to be strong too. He's telling all of these people that are trying to impose their dominance over the United States, it's not happening. We're the dominant nation. God put us in charge for a reason. He talked about a revolution of common sense. We're returning to that. Again, he talked about the Green New Scam. Remember, Davos and all of these people have been able to get a lot of these countries to capitulate to their whims because of the Green New Scam. And a lot of these countries and different parts of the world have acquiesced. They don't really believe in climate change. They just see it as a tool for these leaders that believe in the nonsense that comes from the World Economic Forum to take from one country like the United States and give it to these other countries where literally dictators and tyrants are in charge. No, if you want your country to be successful, instead of behaving like Davos and like a dictator, why don't you behave like the United States of America? And let people think critically, let people come up with their own ideas, be entrepreneurial, let them flourish, don't tax them to death, and let their own ideas thrive. We're going to become the manufacturing superpower and AI. These are some of the things he talked about. Freedom of speech, misinformation and disinformation. I'm not even sure if he's gotten to that yet. But misinformation and disinformation are terms the left use to silence critics and to and to stop progress. Trump mentions that. That is so important. That is so important. It is so crucial because you had Gavin Newsom using that, and Trump even disarmed him before coming to Los Angeles, saying how these leaders will use those terms, misinformation and disinformation. Gavin Newsom, you suck. Davos, you suck. That isn't misinformation or disinformation. You're a horrible governor. These people are evil little tyrants. And no longer will the left get away with misinformation and disinformation, because now you know all that means is they want you to be silenced, and they want progress to stop. Trump talked about abolishing DEI. He's or at least he's going to, and then male and female, getting rid of that nonsense. All of that nonsense is just meant to cause chaos and confusion, right? So the United States of America isn't united. Remember, the United States was the biggest threat to the World Economic Forum, and they were succeeding in taking us down with the morons, the dementia patient and the moron Kamala Harris. That's over. NATO defense spending has to go up 5%. And Davos is like, oh my God, they're done. They're done. All right, let's roll it.
The invasion, it was really an invasion. We will not allow our territory to be violated. After 4 long years, the United States is strong and sovereign and a beautiful nation once again. It's a strong, sovereign nation. In addition, I'm pleased to report that America is also a free nation once again. On day one, I signed an executive order to stop all government censorship. No longer will our government label the speech of our own citizens as misinformation or disinformation, which are the favorite words of censors and those who wish to stop the free exchange of ideas and, frankly, progress. We have saved free speech in America, and we've saved it strongly. With another historic executive order this week, I also ended the weaponization of law enforcement against the American people and, frankly, against politicians, and restored the fair, equal, and impartial rule of law. My administration has taken action to abolish all discriminatory diversity, equity, and inclusion nonsense, and these are policies that were absolute nonsense throughout the government and the private sector. With the recent yet somewhat unexpected great Supreme Court decision just made, America will once again become a merit-based country. You have to hear that word, merit-based country. And I've made it official, an official policy of the United States, that there are only 2 genders, male and female. And we will have no men participating in women's sports, and transgender operations, which became the rage, will occur very rarely. Finally, as we restore common sense in America, we're moving quickly to bring back strength and peace and stability abroad. I'm also going to ask all NATO nations to increase defense spending to 5% of GDP, which is what it should have been years ago. It was only at 2%, and most nations didn't pay until I came along. I insisted that they pay, and they did, because the United States was really paying the difference at that time, and it was unfair to the United States. But many, many things have been unfair for many years to the United States.
Hold it right there real quick. Last pit stop here. If these nations have to pay their fair share in the EU, they have to pay their fair share of defense spending, which they should be paying. Ukraine is obviously in their backyard, and we're handling the bulk of that. That's absolutely insane. But I'm telling you, Davos can't stand hearing that, because now these nation states that were buying into their stupidity are going to have to use some of their money to protect themselves. That's exactly what Davos didn't want. That forces them to become stronger nation states as well. So Davos sees their future at end. Again, just real quick on this DEI nonsense and on these men can be females and females can be male. None of those people at Davos believe that nonsense. Again, these are just tools they use because you got useful idiots like Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass in Los Angeles that'll buy into this nonsense because they want to feel righteous and they want to feel moral and they want power. That's all that is. But understand, none of these people believe in that. The only reason why the left, even leaders in the Democrat Party here, they don't believe. None of them believe this nonsense. The goal is to create multiculturalism within a united nation. And I don't mean just bringing people in. They're doing that by bringing all these illegals in to our country, but also they're creating different groups. Why? Whether it's black, whether it's gay, whether it's, trans. Why does the left do that? To create divisiveness. Let's finish the video.
Office, my team negotiated a ceasefire agreement in the Middle East, which wouldn't have happened without us, as I think most of the people in the room know. Earlier this week, the hostages began to return to their families. They are returning, and it's a beautiful sight, and they'll be coming in more and more. They started coming back on Sunday. Our efforts to secure a peace settlement between Russia and Ukraine are now hopefully underway. It's so important to get that done. That is an absolute killing field. Millions of soldiers are being killed. Nobody's seen anything like it since World War II. They're laying dead all over the flat fields. It's a flat field farmland, and there's millions of Russians and millions of Ukrainians. And nobody's seen anything like it since World War II. It's time to end it. And here in America, we have big events coming up. Next year, we have the 250th anniversary of America's founding. I'm so honored to be president during that. That's
going to be fun.
Big event. They've been talking about it for 10 years. We also have the World Cup. And I understand Gianni's in the room. Infantino, he was very instrumental in helping us get it. He's there with you someplace, I think. And I want to thank him for that. And then we have the Olympics coming up, which I was instrumental in getting also in my first term. And who would have known that by skipping a term, I would get the Olympics? I was upset. I said, I got the Olympics to come and I won't be president. But it turned out through a stroke of luck, or whatever you might call it, that I'm going to be president during the World Cup and the Olympics and the 250th anniversary. So that's going to be 3 big events. And we've accomplished more in less than 4 days. We have really been working 4 days than other administrations have accomplished in 4 years. And we're just getting started. It's really an amazing thing to see. And the spirit and the light over our country has been incredible. Under the last administration, our nation has suffered greatly, but we're going to bring it back and make it greater, bigger, stronger, better than ever before. I want to thank everybody for being with you. I would have been there myself, except the inauguration was 2 days ago. I thought it might be a little bit quick to make it the first stop, but we'll get there one day. We hope to get there. But I do appreciate. I heard the audience is fantastic, and many of my friends are in the audience, and I will be taking questions now from some very distinguished people. Thank you all very much.
You have to wonder if any of the people associated with trying to murder Trump, those 2 assassins, you just have to wonder. I mean, the second guy, Ryan Routh or whatever his name is, I mean, he just seemed like a nut that bought into all the leftist jargon. But you have to wonder about the first guy who they cremated right away before we could learn anything about him. You just have to wonder, did he get instructions from? I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. All right, guys, listen. I appreciate you tuning in. I mean, there is great news out there. I just wanted to recap this. I think it's one of those speeches that's going to be timeless. But we do have a Secretary of Defense in Pete Hegseth now, so that is cool. You guys saw Trump basically just expose Karen Bass for the incompetence that she is. Illegals are being deported. It's absolutely amazing. The U.S. has frozen almost all foreign aid. That's a great thing. People aren't going to just be getting money from the United States, devaluing our dollar, where literally I'm reading headlines. Americans are spending more on credit cards, carrying bigger balances. Maybe if our dollar was worth more and we weren't sending out so much foreign aid. Listen, there's times where that may be okay. But every single dollar needs to be evaluated, and we need to take care of our borders first, get our economy under control first, and then we can figure out who our friends and allies are. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rumble channel, and again, all things social media. X, Instagram, and Facebook, primarily at Carl Jackson Show. Do not forget our t-shirt in honor of DEI dying. Skin Ain't Sin, carljjacksonmerch.itemorder.com. You'll be able to find that somewhere in the link. So we appreciate that. Man looks at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. That's the motivation behind this t-shirt, Skin Ain't Sin. So carljjacksonmerch.itemorder.com. Until next time, guys, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.